while I was looking for an app to convert from NgRx entity to StateAdapt, I stumbled onto this repo from Brian Love and Mike Ryan. I've worked with Brian Love in the past, and Mike Ryan was on the NgRx core team. He might still be. He probably is. I don't pay super close attention, but so I thought this would be a great example app. It may not be a perfect example app because the main point of this repo is to test Cypress, test people's knowledge of Cypress testing, apparently. I think that's what it is. So it's probably not ideal. It doesn't even really build. I tried for a while to get it to build and couldn't. There were circular dependencies between libraries and stuff. But I at least thought it would be an interesting project to work on. I pulled it down, and this is what it looks like. You can create books. I'm not going to touch anything now because things are already broken. I already started converting things. But basically, you can create a book, adds it here, you can sort it, and it gives you the total up here. It's actually kind of backwards from the UI I would expect. Maybe not. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But I probably would put this over here, this to the top right, and then that in the bottom right. But actually, no, because this is like list detail. Yeah, maybe this is fine. I don't know. I'm not a UX person. It's not my job. So this is the command line. I already installed StateAdapt, and I added it to the core, the app, the entry app module. So I got rid of the NgRx stuff and added StateAdapt. So there it is. Now I'm going to, actually, you know what? I forgot. I made a diagram for this. Yeah, check this out. So I think the natural starting point will be books list because it's so simple, but this is how it is right now. And so before I do each feature, I'll come back here and review this. I don't know why, I just love doing this. This is fun for me. Maybe Excalibur is just that fun to use, or maybe I'm just a nerd. I don't know. I set this up to keep track of stats, but unfortunately the bundled kilobytes, I will not ever find that out because it's not going to build. This is what I think it'll look like after I convert it. There'll still be some imperative stuff, some calls to the server, but aside from that, I anticipate 12 imperative statements after I convert, and right now there are 27. All these boxes here, these are containers for imperative code. Just, like, I felt like I was taught to do this. Let me find the example. Component. Yeah, I feel like this is what we're taught to do, is to create methods for everything. But in unidirectional state management, this is pointless because if you want your state management to go in one direction, you want it to just dispatch an action and that's it. So NIST is using NgRx effects, so if there is a side effect they want to do, they can just take care of it there. So I don't really understand the point of wrapping everything in methods, and I think, yeah. But this is actually a pretty exemplary NgRx app, as far as I can tell. And I'm not surprised because of who worked on it, but because it's so exemplary, it's going to look pretty different when I convert to StateAdapt. And yeah, standard NgRx is just not very reactive. So yeah, I created this a while ago. This is the imperative statement count for a bunch of different libraries with an app I made, and NgRx had 7, stayed at 7. And StateAdapt started at 4. Rx Angular I ended up getting it to 4. Don't remember how I did that, but anyway. So yeah, NgRx store, it's decent, but it's not really the most reactive. So okay, so this is the feature that's using component store, so let's start on that one. So this feature is very simple. It's just a component and a component store service thing. So let's look at that. So we've got books list. Where are you? I'll just look it up. books list component. Here we go. Oh yeah, okay. And it's importing the books list store, which I will keep, but I'll just swap in and just component store. This is the sloppiest file in the entire project from what I've seen. A lot of stuff that's not used. I don't think this was fully implemented, but this is really simple. Yeah, so I'm just going to delete the stuff that is actually used. So yeah, that will be, wait, why is store used here? Is it even used at all? No, I don't think so. All right, so let's just start with getting rid of those things. And let's see, we got state.sortOrder. Okay, so here's our state. We want one adapter or a joined adapters thing. Joined adapter, okay. Well, we're getting the sort order. What is this? All right, fine. Let's make a joined adapter. So const adapter equals join adapters. Why isn't it picking it up? Oh, I should probably restart TypeScript. I bet that might be. Well, TypeScript is kind of messed up in general right now. But let's see if that fixes things. Okay. Hey, it did. Good. Okay, now we can pass in state and sort order create adapter from core. Good. Hey, that's pretty good. Okay, and now we need one for prop. Why isn't, oh, because the casing is consistent, so I should just match the first case just in case that happens. So this will create basic state change functions for each of these properties, set and reset, and selectors for them, and that's the main thing, because that's the initial state, obviously. I'm going to try something here. New injection token. Sounds good. How do you do this again? And what's the deal with this? Oh, man. Does it take a second argument? Is that what I've seen before? Hang on. Okay, this isn't Angular. This is just TypeScript, me being kind of ridiculous. Books list, that's kind of redundant with the plural. Did I erase the initial state or did I cut it? I erased it. That was kind of dumb. Okay. So that's going to be our initial state. And yes, we do this. Sure, it'll fix it. Provide in root, factory. Hey, it's guessing. It's really guessing and not doing a great job, but it's fun to see it try. This will be books list, I guess. Actually, I think camel case is better for state because this ends up. Oh, hey, that was a good guess. That was actually not a good guess. We need initial state here. I'm just gonna define initial state. There we go. Now I can just plop that in there. And we don't need to do a 3 argument thing, so initial state. Okay. There you go. So that is That's our store. Look at that. And then set sort order. That, okay. So actually that does help that we have a specific thing in there. Okay, so that should just work now. So if we go here, providers. Yeah, okay. It's provided in root, but that doesn't matter. The state lifecycle will still be connected to the component, so that's fine. We're gonna end up using the template here. So we got store equals inject from Angular core. Look at that. What's this? What? It wanted me to export the state interface. Nothing else, just that one. So, okay. Anyway, so I also accessed these properties of store. This becomes available automatically as part of the fact that it's one of the properties set in the join adapters function. And then this one, the function, and both of these end up being named the exact same thing they wanted in the template, so I just replaced that with just store, because what store is it going to be? Okay. All right, so that is done now. Extra compact? Sure. It's a property, so okay. I like this pattern, actually. This is pretty nice. I was thinking in my last video that maybe I wouldn't do that, but then if you think about it, you don't have to just return this. If you wanted to, you could return anything you want. So I like this pattern because by default it lets you return the store object itself. And inside this factory function, you can use the inject function from Angular. So if you look at how this is defined, let's not do that, but it uses inject internally. So because it needs the global store that's provided that we added earlier here in the app module. This thing needs that. Okay, so this is done. Now it's time to move on. So what do we have? I mean, this is totally done. Crazy, right? That's done. Completely done. Now that looks like this. Yeah. The HTML event directly calls the function to change the sort order. So yeah, we're good. All right. Now what do we do? Let's do the smaller of the two next. This is the auth stuff. So let's start doing this. I don't know if you can hear that, but somebody's watching a movie upstairs. Sounds really intense. Okay. All right, I'm going to close these. There are two components in this feature. This has the login page component and the user dropdown component. And they use actions from, look at this folder structure. This is a little too annoying. Let me see. So projects, they have earnings app. That's the main app. I don't know about books page, but I guess this isn't really NX, like normal NX. This is because you don't have libs and apps, but I don't like this pattern of saying something is shared. Everything should be shared except apps, potentially, so you don't need that. And there's also circular dependencies between these, and it's confusing. So working with the folder structure is annoying in this app. Very, 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 very annoying. But I think I have to remember how to convert these projects. I think what I do with these normally with StateAdapt is I'm going to create a store and export it from this folder from this library. And I'm not going to change too much. What about actions? Yeah, I can just where they define actions, I can change the file name to sources, where it gets imported into multiple libraries. Or I could maybe export them from here. I could do that too. But what I usually start with these conversion projects is just the reducer, just the pure state here. I don't think they use entity in this one. No, they do not yet. So let's see what we got. We have some basic selectors. This looks like a joinAdapters application here. And then we have things that are grouped together. So it just feels tedious to do all this. Yeah, I hear they're only, well, no, they're setting all these things. Do they ever spread state? I guess they're just setting state explicitly every single time. You know what I'm going to try? I'm going to try... No, I'm not going to try that. I was going to try doing joinAdapters so I'd get change functions for each of these individually. And then in the adapt call itself, I was going to... so if you have one source, I would attach it to actually 3 state changes. So it's... Yeah, that would have made that object kind of complicated. And, you know, this is structured like this, so I'm just going to do this the old-fashioned way, the simple way, and go ahead and just convert it almost directly from how it is now. So I'm just going to copy it to a new file, and we're going to start with, oh man, actions. Yeah, just for simplicity with imports, I'm going to keep the actions where they are. I don't like a lot about this. Anyway, so we've got state and initial state. Not touching that. Adapter goes create and not entity adapter. State. Okay, now that it has no idea what StateAdapt adapters are. Okay, so we're going to call this log. Log out because it's a verb, so it's 2 words. Just fill it like this. There. So that's that one. And I will put the action that causes it here. Okay, so that will be done. Log in. Hey, great. Null, good. I'm going to delete that here. Cool. Hey, it's picking it up. This is pretty cool. Okay, this is not action though. This is going to be directly the payload. And what is it on action? Where are you? Oh. Auth API payloads? Did that really? Yeah, that did. Anyway, auth API actions. And it is a user. Okay. Okay, that's easy. And I'll just call it user. Okay. These are not used in any of these. That is not usual. Oh, I should, before I do that, let's get rid of this one. Yep. Okay. Login success. It kept my rename. That's fun. False. User. Good. Error. Wow, this is pretty fun. Way to go, Copilot. You are saving some amount of time. Reason string, is that true? Is that what it is? Nobody knows. Auth API actions. Reason string. Okay, so it does look across multiple files, so that is pretty awesome. I don't. Yeah, that's the issue though. Is it's not. I mean, these are state changes. This should be receive, because you're commanding. Success? I don't even know if that was named well before. Because you're actually getting the user. I'm going to name it that. Okay. Also, these are the exact same state change. I hate this because I feel bad, but I can't do that. I can't do that. So, okay, login failure. I feel bad because it makes the comparison stupid, because they could have done that with the other syntax. But then again, with StateAdapt, it's a little easier to know that because your state change functions are just pure functions that describe what they do. They have nothing to do with the action. And so it's easy to think that your actions are tied one-to-one to state change logic with NgRx. It shouldn't be. Anyway, but this describes a state change. If a different state change is needed, you can add a different one. But anyway, so this would be receive error. Never thought of naming it that before. I'll see how it goes. So I'll keep these comments. Why are there only 4? That is weird. Was that it before? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Okay, yeah. All right. With join adapters, you also get these. Automatically. It's not that much more code. If I wanted to do this with, if I wanted to do this, hey, well, okay. If I want to do that with join adapters, it would take about the same amount of code, maybe even slightly more, because I'd be setting up the adapters just for these things. Anyway, doesn't matter. So that's all of that. And of course that's not used. Now I create a store. And this will actually be an injection token. So this is new injection token. Auth store. Nice. Ah, they still... I didn't learn. Okay, so that will be auth. Okay. What's going on with this syntax? Oh, why did I do that again? Okay. Okay. This is where sources will go. It kind of has the right idea, but it's wrong. Anyway, so this is the auth store. That's good enough. Let's look at the state and see what we need. So we've got feature key. Don't need that. Should I copy some of these over? So this is a funny thing. This is JS doc syntax. And look, hey, that's pretty cool. But it only applies to the thing right below it. So I don't know why you don't just do a regular comment. Anyway, I have a feeling Mike Ryan didn't write this actually. This was 12 months ago, Mike Ryan, but I think he copied the entire code base into this repo all at once. Anyway, so these are unnecessary. This is literally just boilerplate. It's just chaining down from top level to all these. But anyway, so this, literally all of this whole file is boilerplate. So goodbye. Okay. All right, now we just need to get the actions right. Actually, this should be pretty easy. Just need to go here and yeah, I can do this the same way. Okay, so this is actually gonna be pretty consistent. Yeah, I'm just gonna do it like this. Okay, right there. Okay, new source. Good. Ooh. Nope. Yeah, whatever. And we can get rid of the const part of that and add the $sign. That's the syntax I like because then you can copy and paste the thing from Redux DevTools and search for it in your code base and it's the same. Okay, so all right, now we need user model here. It'd be cool if Copilot could do multi-cursor recommendations. That'd be insane. All right, so reason string. So this is going to be a string. And this is going to be that, apparently. Why? That's kind of weird. All right, now we can get rid of all of those. And there are our sources. This is about as minimal as create action group. Maybe not quite, though. Create action group really is a great thing from NgRx. Well, I'm going to be happy with this, though. Okay, so that's one of them. They're called actions. I don't really care to rename it. I'll do it here. What? Oh, it's because of the barrel file. Yeah, you know what? I won't care. They are sources technically, but anyway. All right, so we get, let's see, just these two here. So receive user and receive error. It's going to be multiple things. Haha, nice. All right. Now this is going to be mad because of the null. All right, so what do we do about that? I guess it could be or null. Why? I don't know. but we're setting it. We're gonna receive a null user when it succeeds somehow. That's the type of thing I don't need to change in this conversion project, so I won't change that. So unsurprisingly, this moves it like that. So that's fine. Okay. Now, login page actions. I don't think this is ever used, but guess what? I'm going to convert it anyway because I should. Okay, so we got these two things. And oops. Which one is it? I thought it was, no, that copies. Which one is it? Aha, option command, okay. Export const equals new source. Some type, and then our stuff there. Here it will be void, apparently, and here it will be, why does it have two things? I don't know. Why is it a function? That's just kind of weird. All right. Very flexible, but unnecessary. Just make them pass in an object. That is so awkward how it split it, but I don't care. That's how it has to be. Okay, auth store back here. So login. That's really the only one, huh? So, okay, let's do it first. Login is caused by actions login. Okay. And the payload matches, of course. Oh, weird. Okay. Can erase these now. Yeah. Why does it even have a payload? Oh, effects. Okay. So that'll be the interesting thing. The effects will be done in this file. Oh, yep. So we will end up needing a full function here. Return. Okay, now here we can do our effects and stuff. Let's actually take a look at what that's going to look like. So here's what they're doing. From two components, they've got login and logout. And then for logout, it's just an effect. And then for auth effects login, it is just a the server thing, and then these two things, and this is sort of its own thing. So I'll look at effects next. That has to be the next thing. So I convert it. So first I did the reducer, then I did actions, now I'm doing effects. Yeah, and these all go down to the reducer. So what it's going to look like is not that different, but fairly different. Okay. All right. Effects. Where are the effects? Also, this file can be deleted now. And I should probably export from the auth store. Jeez. There we go. For imports, it should not suggest anything. That is my opinion. Okay. All right. So effects, auth effects right here. Okay. So we've got, what were the other ones? User drop-down actions. Oh, we never did that one. Okay. I need to convert that one. Okay. Very, very basic one. Void. I think it's by default going to be void. Unknown. Actually, it doesn't matter. Okay, let's get rid of that. And that one's done. Okay, user dropdown actions. All these actions are done. Awesome. Okay, and so now we do that. So log out will be this one. Okay. And I don't need these. I mean, I don't even need those, so it doesn't matter. Arrow parents, dang it. I hate arrow parents. Okay. So log out. It was right all along. Okay, so that's it. We could have done this in line. Well, the adapter, I mean, we could have done all this in line. But it looks way better to do it like this, so I like it that way. Okay, so we got auth effects. What other effects do we have? So this is the only one relevant to this. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. And delete that. Okay, now that's all going to be taken care of here. Okay, so we do not need any of this. So we need auth. Where does it get auth from? Let's restore that file. Did it restore the file? It did not. Whatever. So where does auth come from? I really should have. Let's see. Auth effects. Here we are. Okay, auth service. I'll just import the whole thing. Also, let's move all these up just for fun. Okay, now that shared services, shared. There should just be one library called auth. Okay. Okay. So we've got the login here. It's provided in root. We're good to go. This looks good. Okay, so inject auth service. Perfect. So now that, I hate this. What did I call that? Okay, so this is actually just going to be gone completely because that, I'm going to remember that or keep that. It just comes from here. It's just part of this store. If this store is ever used. Okay, so what do I call this? I'm just going to call it user. This is the other thing about factory functions. They're not class methods. Const instead of read only. First of all, like, why would you ever do read only? Because so much to type. But anyway, okay, so pipe map. Oh, look at that. Don't need to do that. Don't need to do that at all. Just need to source. And this is going to be what is this? Well, I could call it just user Okay, and that's going to be user model or null, right? I don't care if there's an error. I'm doing the same thing they're doing. Or when did they dispatch that function? Oh yeah, it was literally just in the effect. They did, yeah. So they just immediately fetch this. So yes, I'm doing this the same. Okay. User. Okay, that's it. That's it. All right. Is this even used anywhere else? Yes, it is. Okay. I'm actually kind of getting sick of this. That's better. Okay, so that's the user source. Now we have. Okay, now we have something actually interesting. Two of these, and they're going to be similar. So what we have here is, first of all, a source. This is actually the source defined already elsewhere. So that must be this, right? Login, yes. So this is a source that is already being plugged in here. What we need to do is do all this stuff. So what I need to do is look at documentation, because I never remember this. Okay, HTTP actions, sources. These are split up, and this is the one that combines them. So let's see if we can use this one. HTTP sources. So you fetch data that isn't able to be chained off of anything. So what we want is get HTTP actions. This lets you chain off of an existing observable, and then this just returns the various responses. All two of them. All right, so get HTTP actions. So this will be called, I don't know, login. I'm just going to call it login. Login. I could call it login request. We want, how do we do this? Oh, yeah, we pipe and then switch map. Concat map, apparently. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much right. I guess it just is all this stuff. Yeah, all that. So auth. All right. Login success. Oh yeah, this is the stuff that doesn't matter. All right, so we do this. That is the actual. Oh, we need a call for actually what we need is a call to get HTTP actions. That's primarily get HTTP actions. Dang it. Okay, so this is going to take 2 to 3 arguments, and first one's going to be the request. So that's cool. Nothing unexpected. Second one is going to be what to return in each situation. How do I know? I mean, catch error is already going to do its thing, so I think we just return true, because if we get this far, and this is already, so I'm just going to call this user. We don't need error here. This is the error object if this is false, so that's honestly... Do I need it? Ugh. All right. This already applies a catch error and maps to the error returned. So what this is going to create is observable of unknown. Yeah, this will be fine. Okay. Good. String or null, which the null comes from this. And then, yeah, looks right. Okay, so login, success, and failure. So what were those in our adapter? User and error. Wait, what? It wasn't even receive user? Oh, it was. What's the deal with that then? Oh, that's a state shaped. Okay, so receive user. Oh, hey. Wait, so I never actually needed to create this. I didn't need any of these. Yeah, of course I didn't. These are reactive. These are responsive. They come from something else. So I'm going to delete this. And way back over there, I need to now delete that line of code. Okay, this is going to be gone. So instead of that, which is now dead, we're going to have login.success. Right? Right? Well, what does exist? That's an observable? Oh, I need to split HTTP sources. So this is, I will call that request. No, it's everything. I'm going to call this request. What's the documentation? You just pass it in. Split HTTP sources. What does it need? Oh yeah, the feature. So this will just be auth. There we go. Success, and then we have receive error, right? That's the one thing I wish it was, and it's probably the null thing here, but string or null. Hey, there you go. This is literally never used. I should see if this extends true and return nothing. I could do an overload for that, but for now I can just do this. This literally will never be used. Anyway, so logout is not interesting at all. It's just sort of a side effect. It's like a pure side effect. So a pure side effect. Yeah. It just sets it in the server. There is this though. So this is when you actually set. There's no request or anything. Actually, this is just talking to local storage, I think. So I'm going to pretend it's asynchronous though. And I'm just going to, let's see, we already have logout here. So for no op, interesting. That's not a bad guess. It understands TypeScript. It's just Copilot has access to so much information that really makes it useful. Anyway, so we're starting with logout. Just gonna Go ahead and pipe and tap. Just do this. And it's going to be null, but I'm going to do to sort or void. Hey, that's, I don't need to do that. Log out success. That's pretty easy and straightforward. Dispatch false, don't need that. I'm actually dispatching this. What do you want? I gotta pause. I think I just found a bug in StateAdapt, so good thing I did this. Synthetic sources here. These are adapter methods, so if we take our adapter, that will exist on it. It didn't. Wow, that was a fail. So yeah, I don't get it, because we're using this last one, the overload with all four arguments, and yeah, this, yeah. So this makes sense that it wouldn't be part of this, but these initialized reactions aren't part of it either. But they should be. So this means we'll have, at least we should have set on this. Yes. What? Oh, is this a bug I already fixed? I think this, hang on. Oh, I typed adapt instead of adapter. Yeah, so set, reset, those exist, but not that. Okay, so that's kind of weird. Oh, of course, I was checking the wrong thing. Of course, this, here. This will have a noop on it. So no op is on the store, of course, not the adapter. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to add here on this overload. I need to make sure that sources actually is this one. So I'm fixing that right now. Bug fixing live. Those are the only two that input sources. So yeah, that's it. That's fixed. Okay. All right. Well, since there is no op, God, what do I do? No, you know what? It should work. So I'm just gonna do How ugly do I want to make this? Actually, I can just do this. I hate that. Okay, but that is fine. All right, so we got login stuff here, that weird thing here, and logout success. So let's look at our graph and see if we can see each of those. So we've got logout. Wait, here we go. What the? I never updated that. So this is going to be log out request. This will be login request. Actually, these will not have $signs. Will they? They won't. They won't. Yeah. But these will. Yeah, that's fine. There. Okay. So that's actually how it works. So, yep. So we've got the auth service user. That was just this auth status. I'm just, hang on. Did I just move that? Yes, I did. Okay, user. And we've got login and login request. Huh. How crazy would it be? Yeah, that'd be too much nesting to define this all in one. It doesn't matter. So that is over here. That leads to login success and login failure or error. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Let's name it error. Okay. So that's that part. And then we got log out success. That wasn't here, but it doesn't matter. This is just a way to dispatch this. The side effect, that's the circle right here. Log out request. I'm going to call it log out success, actually. Yeah, so we've got this done. And that square represents the tap here, the imperative command. So that's one of the 12 here. Okay, so now the selectors side of things. That is all that's left. Wow, that was a lot. Circular dependency. Yep, that's not my fault. So we got login page actions, enter and log in. And we got log out from there. Okay, so we're looking good. Okay, so wow, we're going to be done with auth soon. This is good. Okay, now here's the login page component. This is fun. That can be gone. This one, did we get rid of both of those? Oh, these are selectors. Yeah, so instead we're going to do auth store. Okay. Now we do, oh, this is going to be beautiful. Store equals inject auth store. That is awesome. I wish I'd done join adapters. Actually, I already defined these selectors, so getting status. Do the same thing here. Perfect. See, they could have done that too, though. Did they do that in the constructor? They did, so it's literally the same thing, unless you use inject, I guess. So this isn't strictly like StateAdapt versus NgRx thing. This is like a use inject versus don't use inject type of thing, maybe. Okay, now here's a fun thing we can do. Event, it was already an object. Log in event. Oh, hey. I know what to do with that. Nice. Don't need it here. Apparently don't need it there or here. Okay, where's the problem? So this should be fine. It's just having issues. Okay, so now we have store dot no. Okay, so we have we actually need this one still. Log out. Oops. Is that log in? This is... Oh, okay. All right. I guess I was mistaken. Okay, now that can just... Oh, this is just going to be login. Dot next. So I'm going to separate that. selectors, source. Yeah. Wait a sec. The store is already here. Why don't I just, in the template, grab them? Nah, I could, but I'm not going to do that. Why not? Too much coupling. I don't care that much about that, but whatever. Okay, well that's done. Okay, now the drop down component. Okay, don't need that. Let's do the store. Okay, this is gonna be the same thing. User. Okay, import. Yeah, awesome. And let's see if we can figure it out. Awesome, man, beautiful. Well done, Copilot. This is so weird. Copilot is just going to be like a consistent companion to development itself for everyone. Like YouTube videos, just everything. Okay, I'm going to keep it like that. Now drop down component. Logout.next. What? What's the argument it expects? That's kind of weird. Oh, all right, fine. Okay, now we get to go to the component again. Hey, there we go. User, yep, it's all the same. Okay, that completes it, I believe. Yeah, can't think of anything else. That was easy. So finally, after an hour and 2 minutes, I get to the entity part. It's going to be a lot of deleting, and I'm going to love it. It's going to be awesome. Okay, entity. This looks exciting. Start by getting rid of that and importing it from nowhere. Oops, StateAdapt, core adapters, entity state, and then entity adapter. All right, looking good. Okay, so I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to, instead of extending entity state, I'm going to have, this is books. I'm going to do it like this. Have the entity state be its own property. I think this might be an easier way to do this with StateAdapt. So, yeah, I'm going to try it. Okay, so first thing I'm going to check is if we need an adapter that's more sophisticated than just the entity adapter. So I'm going to, I'm going to look at the state changes and see what they do to entity stuff. So they just add one, update one. Oh, update one. That's interesting. Okay. That is something. Wait, active book. What are they updating? Oh, the changes. Oh, they're just updating. So it's literally just an update. So that's kind of boring. But yeah, that does mean I should use join adapters because it comes with an update function. So book adapter, join adapters, book model. Okay. And this is how you tell join adapters that you're not going to specify adapters for any of the properties. And it should just, I mean, this should still come with a bunch of a function. Oh, right, we need to close it off. Selectors. Yeah, so that actually blocks it from creating default selectors for anything. Because you didn't pass in an object, so JavaScript can't do it. I'd need to pass initial state in for that to be able to happen, but I don't do initial state with adapters. So, yeah. Okay, so book adapter. But it does come with update, right? No. Why not? Is that only in the update that I haven't released? Might be. Okay, I'm not sure why I forgot to close it off again. Update. There we go. So that is one that will work. Okay, so that is just going to work fine now. So there we go. This is the adapter. This is just the books adapter. Okay, now we're going to do, why are we exporting this? Books, no, what do you call this? Just the main adapter. Nice. Do I want to do this? Key of state? No, I think I can just go ahead and do it. Looks good. What's the deal with this? Oh, right, index. No, ID string. This should just work. What's the issue with this? Hang on. I forgot to pass in the adapter here. Book adapter. Oh, this does the same thing. Okay. All right, good. Okay, what's the issue with this now? Oh yeah, of course. I need to do the other ones now. Okay, so we now have, let's do the same order they have it there. So active book ID, create adapter, string or null apparently. Okay, and it yells at you until. You know what? I could also just do base Boolean adapter. It's the same thing. There we go. We've got an adapter for every single property now. So we can do initial state. It's just going to be this now, but with books. Oops. There we go. Create entity state. Yeah, it'll just be empty for now. Okay, so there we go. That's all of our adapter stuff. We may end up with our main adapter. Yeah, this is where we're also going to define these state changes, of course. Okay, so we've got a few here. This one is already available. If we look here, we have adapter.reset active book ID. I mean, they could have just called it selected book, but so that is already inherited there. So, so I'm just gonna, we're gonna rename this to store right now since I'm already just rewriting it here. And now let's const, what's this? Books store. I wish I could, New. Yes, there we go. Factory. Still doesn't really get the syntax, even though I'm using it everywhere. This does involve server calls, so I'm going to go ahead and no, we need the path. Books. I don't think I already did that. Did I do that? I think I did. Where's the other one? Books list store. Oh, okay. I named that correctly. So books. That's the tricky thing with StateAdapt. You got to make sure these are unique. And when in doubt, go ahead and add more detail. But it'll warn you if you actually try to do it. It is really lost on what I'm actually trying to do here. Copilot. Yeah. Hopefully as I get more source code out there, I can start training this AI Copilot. But yeah, it'll take a bit. That kind of gives a disadvantage to niche solutions. Like Copilot actually does help a lot. And if it's always recommending the wrong things, that is a significantly worse development experience. So that is a tricky thing that, and even with any solution, basically it makes change difficult. It makes innovation difficult with technology, with programming utilities, because Copilot doesn't know them. Okay. It doesn't know the new syntax. All right, so what I want to do here is reset, what was it called? Active. It has no idea what syntax I'm going for. And is that is an action. And it's totally, it's an any. Oh, because create action is dead. That's why it's happy. So I'll replace it at some point, but I just wanted to note that we already have that reaction and it comes from that. Why not just directly call this from the component? It's more expressive to say we entered this page, but at the same time, should I rethink this? Why are we dispatching an action when we enter a page? Because when we're loading a route, that's a rendering phase. So why is there an event there? Shouldn't this just have like a default? Okay, this has to do with state being in the store and when will it clear. This is the whole page. It's going to be used on the whole page. So if you go over to the login screen or some other page, assuming there eventually will be some, do you want to fetch the books again from the server? Probably. So this should just go back to initial state. So now I have to decide if I'm going to maintain the exact behavior they had or make it more reactive. I'm going to maintain the same behavior at first, but we'll revisit this at the end. Clear selected book. Wait a sec. What are we doing here? Sure. Assuming we can redo it. Did I never do this? Yeah, I never did that. Okay. Cool. It handled that well. All right, so that was, where did I get enter from? Oh, 2 actions. Oh, tricky. So, yeah, both of these. Okay, that's easy enough. So you can directly command it to clear the selected book. You can also have it react to this. Yeah. This is generating synthetic actions, basically. So instead of defining an independent action, when there's only one state change that needs to happen, this will not make it any more imperative to just get rid of this action and have it directly tell the state to change. It's just like dispatching the action. Okay. Well, that one's done. Select book. This one will just be set active book ID. I wish it had autocomplete. Eh? Hey, nice. So that's pretty cool. All right, now we get to something interesting. So this is books loaded. I'm going to call this receive books. I do not have an async entity adapter yet, but eventually that will be nice. So let's see, receive books. Now we get, this is actually a really good guess. Oh man, that is awesome. Set. Oh, we don't want the base Boolean adapter. We just want the Boolean adapter with its cool state changes. So set false. Okay, and this will just be actually that. See how that works? It's kind of declarative looking, right? And that defines this now. So receive books, that one. Okay. Books loaded failure. And so this will be similar. Let's see. I'm going to call it receive error. So what happens here? Just a couple simple things. So we've got loading false, that's good, but then error is just set error. So whatever the adapter is. Yeah. Fine. Okay. It'll just be the set change on there. So since this takes no payload, the payload for this new state change will be, well, it's the intersection of everything. When it's void, it ignores it. And so this will be object or null. So that works. Yes. Great job, Copilot. You're a good Copilot. Okay, now we got add one active book ID. Oh, okay. Okay, that kind of makes sense. So we've got create book. I could call add one add book. I'm going to call add book. What does it have? Aha! And then, wait, is loading? Why are we doing is loading? That's kind of weird. Active book ID. Okay. I would rather have this in the same order. So we've got is loading, then error, then books at the very bottom. So yeah. This one will be error? No. We did add one is, oh, this is active book ID. Good guess. What does it do? Yeah, it sets it to null. Okay, so it's good we have an adapter here then. Nice. So that's what that does now. Same thing here. So add book, update book. Update book. Okay, that works. It's still. There we go. Haha. Ah, this is beautiful. See how this works? This is so nice. These are group reactions. So it'll be efficient about it. So we'll create a new state shape if one of these actually returns a new shape, a new state. And then it loops through each of these properties, passes the sub state to it, gets a new state, passes a sub state, and then it just sets them on that new parent state. And so it doesn't spread this twice. This is efficient. And it's, the syntax is pretty small. I'm wondering if maybe it'd be nice to do something like this. Because, look, we already provided that this is using the Boolean adapter. So why do we have to do this extra reference? But this is sort of like it maybe it's too much magic here. This isn't too bad. So yeah, and you can intercept this and define your own state change if you want. I mean, literally, like you could just define this here. See that? So that would work. And maybe in general, maybe that's fine. But like if you've got a type, it doesn't hurt to have an adapter for that type specifically. So yeah. Yeah, because now you're going to have, you could, if you wanted to, just call this directly. Set active book ID null. That is now available on the global adapter, the parent adapter. And it would only be just part of this one if you used it there. All right, so there's that one. And is that the last one? No, we got one last one, remove. And that's already on it. It's just going to be, oh, did we? Oh no, I didn't add these extra things. Hang on. Let's see. So we've got error, and then we need these three to stay. But after that, it's all over. Okay, so that's going to be gone now. Okay, so we got books created. Add book. Oh, wow, that is beautiful. Hey, we don't need an array on half of these. Anyway, so update book. Delete book. Nice. Did I call it? I didn't do that yet. We don't need to at all. So this will actually be remove one. Remove books 1. Yeah, there we go. It just comes by default. Look at that, and they're all here and accounted for. So I don't get the spaces between brackets. I think that's obnoxious. And like you don't need them on like half of these anyway. So okay, look at that. Beautiful. Okay. So I'm guessing some of these actions will actually just be direct. It'll directly call the store. So I can update this diagram probably. Oh no, we've got extra things in here. Yeah, if we want to do like, no, that would be stupid. Don't want to do an optimistic update type thing. So yeah. Well, book deleted, book created. These are actually the reactions I'm defining. Delete book is a request. So, yeah. All right. Okay, and then we have selectors. Okay, this is easy. So now we can define a selector from these groups. And this is going to be, actually we want to do selectors first. Always do selectors first. I don't remember always doing that, but that's because so selectors are going to be sandwiched between the initial state changes. So like up here, when you're just doing regular createAdapter, you got join adapters, which provides just like the state shape with adapters instead of state. But usually the order is state changes at the very top, and then selectors, and then more state changes at the end, because when you're doing this like adapter builder pattern, where you're calling it sequentially and then closing off at the end, when you define more reactions at the end, more state changes, you have access to any selectors from before. So it's good to define the selectors up top just in case. So just in case you need it. All right, so we got select active book. Are they using a no? It's just regular. Okay. So we got active book ID. All right, this is actually going to be pretty simple. It's just going to be, yeah, I'm just going to put this in here, and this is called active book. So active, let's see if they can figure this out. Copilot? No. Close. TypeScript knows what it is. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah, it's just the entities there. It's crazy that's actually nice. My naming convention, like this selector was generated by join adapters and just appended entities at the end. That's the name they decided down here too, naturally. What else would you choose? But still, it's good. Okay, earnings total. Oh, we got a utility. Yeah, that's crazy. Do we need active book in this one? No, I just need select all. Okay, so this will be easy. So, oops, total earnings. Earnings totals. Earnings totals. We don't need to do that type of thing. Books all. Yep. All books would be a more natural name, but there's no way to know that the selector is an adjective instead of a noun. So books all of them. So that's the selector that was. So this books adapter, it has, look at all the selectors it has. Four. That's a lot. Okay. It's because this adapter is really boring. It's book adapters, but anyway, book adapter. And it has update, right? Yes, it does have update. Okay. You know, I want to put selectors at the end. I'm so used to selectors coming at the end. I know it would feel better for this one. Look at that. All the state changes up here. This defines both state changes and selectors, though. But that's kind of normal. It's just if you don't put selectors up top, there will be some times where you'll define a bunch of selectors and then you'll be like, okay, now we need that selector to define another state change. And that can be confusing. So yeah, I'm going to keep that up there. Selectors first. Okay, now all that's gone. I'm curious now what this specific one turned into. How much code did this take compared to what was here before? This is 83. This was 84. Almost identical. That's not very impressive, but it's fine. Okay. This file, though, will be deleted completely. All right. Then let's delete it. Okay, so we got bookstore. Now we need the effects. And also these aren't really connected. These are actions, and that's, yeah. Let's look at our diagram again. We had this is an action. 1, 2, 3. Enter. Why enter? Oh, enter causes a state change. Load books? No. No. This should just happen. Every time you enter the page. Yeah, that should definitely just happen. So, yeah, I am going to change that. I'm getting rid of that action. That is a pointless action. Yeah, I knew I was going to do that. Okay. Books loaded. Books loaded error. Actually, this is going to be dot success and dot error, but that might, oh, that's fine. Doesn't. Okay, that is getting a little ridiculous. Okay, but there we go. That's better. Okay, it's ugly, but that is what it is. So I'll actually force it to end there. This is so boring to watch, I'm sure. I gotta get back to the point of this whole thing. It could be worse. Okay. Yep, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of the enter action. So this is gone. Yep. Okay, so now we just need the request. So yeah, we're looking at effects now. Load books. Exhaust map. Exhaust map. it's not concat map. Wait, what does exhaust map do? I forgot. Oh, it ignores it until then. Yeah, it ignores it until, yeah, so totally pointless. But well, I mean, if you switch routes quickly, I guess you would want to reuse the previous one, but in this case, when you enter it, it's going to make a request again anyway. This is like a really fine-grained optimization, honestly. If you just make a new fresh request every time you enter, I think that's fine. So, oh, it's just returning. Oh, it's got selectors here. Okay, so we got to use something fun. All right, so we got book service. That's what we're looking at here. Where's the store? Here it is. Okay, so what did they call it? This dot. Okay. Nice. No suggestions. What? Don't be ridiculous. Okay, that's better. Oh, Angular core? Yeah, that should be the very top. Yeah, okay. Okay, that works. Okay, so we got book service. And we have it's just gonna start. Okay, so it starts with this will trigger an infinite loop. We can take one. Yeah, we'll just take one from this. Oh no, this is coming from the service, so it's not from the store. Duh. Okay. It's kind of a weird thing to name a service method that's fetching. Yeah, this would be called fetch all. It's kind of weird. All right, so let's just take this over to our thing here. Okay, so this is going to be get HTTP sources. So this is going to be books request equals get HTTP sources. All right, so we got 3 arguments. First is going to be books. And then we get the observable. Then we get this wonderful thing here. Okay, books loaded, and that's ridiculous. So books are any. That's suspicious. Yeah, I didn't think that was any. So book model array. Yeah, it's because of all this stuff, maybe. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Yeah, map is on it. That's why. An error. And what is the error going to be? Well, it's catch error, so again, the response is always going to be positive, so true. Res, and why are there 2 arrays here? That's kind of interesting. That is very weird. Okay, so we don't need that whole thing. Okay, what were those actions though? We got books loaded, so that'll be this one. Receive books. So books request dot success, and then error. Okay, this is simple. This is going to go back to initial state when you exit. Okay. Uh-oh. Oh, right. It wants it to be a string, even though it's never going to be accessed. Oops. Was that loud? I should check. And it's still unhappy. Object? Why does it want object? Yeah, what is this going to return? Does HTTP return object for error? And just an object of any kind? What does this do? Catch error. What are you? Any? Well, how is this used? I don't know, but it's typed as object or null. I mean, then null should be fine here, right? It should be fine here. And it could be a string. Is that my deal? Yeah, I make it that it could be a string. Okay. It can't be a string, but yeah, here I assume that the response from catch error is gonna put in a string when actually it does any, apparently. So let's look at this again. Get doesn't let you type the error, but catch error, it's an error, so it's gonna be an error object and not necessarily a string. Let's see if we get, let's just see what it looks like. I mean, it'll be the same thing. This will be any, right? So maybe the error should be type any. That kind of sucks. That's a good fix for now. Safer than any. Well, this is any. What was this? Object or any? Or null? Object or null? It must be an object, right? Whatever it is, it's returning the same thing. So, yeah, this sucks. But, yeah. It also sucks that this is all spread out like that. So, what can I do to fix that? That really does suck. Const all equals, I'm going to call it fetch all. It's like a slight annoyance to do this for syntax. And didn't actually help because it's too much. So let's see if that's even better. Wait, does it respect this one? It shouldn't? No. No, that's not the issue. Yeah. This is a very, very narrow setting. This is kind of the default, I think. What column is this? Let's see. We're at column 65. So yeah, 75-ish probably is the default. 70 maybe? I don't know. 80? Does it go past 80? I don't know. But yeah, this is annoying. What is this? Book model. So, you know, this is hideous syntax, but get HTTP payloads. There we go. So let's just pass that in. It's still too much, right? Yeah. Still too much. Oh. Yeah. What's wrong with you? Oh, as const. Wait, no? Oh. Yeah, I've done this before, and this sucks. Yeah, well, I'll just pay the consequence of having this prettier width and this strange syntax for my request thing. I'll pay the consequence. I'll do it. Okay. Book service. Okay, effects. So this one, hey, on the bright side, it wasn't as bad as this. I still need it. Okay, so we've got create book. That is a thing that will be dispatched. So where's create book? There's book created. Create book, though, that is only, there's the effect, and we're dispatching it. So up here, it's time to make all these sources. Just because maybe dang it. Okay, let's go back. I'm not going to finish that thought. I don't remember what I was saying. Okay, now we get to just drop these. What is this, void? Yeah, this is just too much. There has to be an object in NgRx. Book required props. Interesting. Okay. Changes? Oh, right. This is one of those things. So we get string for the ID and that. This is a standard update payload in StateAdapt's entity adapter. Oh man, I love this entity adapter. It is amazing. I need to find a library that uses entity extensively, that uses update like 400 times. Okay, so string. Select, clear selected book, create. Okay, I know that I'm going to be deleting a couple of these maybe. Is there load books on here? Okay. Awesome. Okay. We are ready for the next thing. Okay, so what we're doing, create book. All right, so now, yeah, this is going to be kind of a regular thing. So const book create request. Yes, that's what I want. And it's not going to be that. It's going to be this one, not book created. Create. Why isn't that there? We got create book here. Books page actions. Yeah, that makes sense. Books page action. Here we go. Okay. And it's going to be a concat. What is it? Effects. That's where this is. Concat. Yep. I'm just gonna copy this. And I'll just take the payload out. And that will just be the payload. Yeah, just returns the exact payload I want. Okay. Book create request. Okay, that's what. Oh, I need to write. Okay. Get HTTP. Right here. Get HTTP actions. Books. Yeah, that actually is the right thing I want. That is the exact thing I want. Okay, now drag that up there. Wait. Oh, I have to split sources in the next one. Right. Okay, so this is just the second argument. Just same as normal. Huh. Book create. Oh, that is. Okay. Okay, I think that's it. Now. Yes. Wow. It did it. Huh. Okay. That's awesome. This syntax. It's driving me nuts. I hate it. I hate it. Spread out like that. Ugh. If it's true, this is the payload. If it's false, or if it's false, that's the payload. So you can check for an error as a property of the response in here. I no longer like this, because you know what you could do? You could just take the service and do like a map thing here and throw an error yourself. Why not? That'd be a lot better. And then I can just assume that response, I can just add the catch error onto this, and then actually, if it's catch error, and then output that as an action, like an error action. So my chair, squeaky. Okay, so I can look into that. I might do that before I release 1.0. Or maybe not. Yeah, that should be a thing that I take care of. Yeah. And this isn't the end of the world if you have to type it more specifically, because I don't want to pass in a generic, because then you'll have to pass in all the generics. Thanks, TypeScript. Okay. Unless I made the error the first one. Okay, so where is this? So we have, but created success. What? Oh, is this the error thing? Yep. Oops. No, what is this? Wait, why error? Success? Error action? and success action. Hang on. I gotta figure this out. Well, I'm being ridiculous. I mean, I'm probably wrong anyway, but this should be split HTTP sources. I already did the get actions thing. I don't need this. I noticed this as soon as I paused the video, but and what do you know, the type works. So I'm not sure what I did, but yeah, it was some kind of nested action, I guess. Yeah. Okay, now let's do the error one. Are we doing an error one? How did that work before? Where are the effects? There was no error. Okay. That's pretty boring. So actually, then, do I even need this? I don't even need this stuff. Would it be good to show an error? Probably. But am I doing a comparison? Yeah. So I'm going to do what they did here. No error, really. Okay. All right. Then I will just do this stupid thing and not use my cool utilities that have the terrible array syntax for Prettier's default setting. It works great if you do 90 width or 100. Oh well. Okay, so we got concat map, and it's the payload. This is just going to be book created. None of this stuff. Yeah, no, definitely none of that. Makes you wonder if it's worth it, all these utilities, but it is. If you do the comparison, it's worth it, but I'm not sure it's worth the learning that you have to do. But anyway. Wow, it could have been that simple. Okay. Oh, jeez. All right, what's next? So we got create book. Done. Update book. Any errors here? No. Okay, then we will do the exact same thing as before, but with update. Actually, let's try Copilot here. It has no idea what I want. Book updated. We got update book. The ID, right? The payload, yep. It's going to be, I'm just going to spread the payload in. That's how reckless I am. And that's happy. Okay. What do you want? What? Oh, okay. Huh. All right. Dang it. Needs to go in there. Or does it? I need to map this. Just a map. What was that? That just maps the payload. I need to create action. Did I get rid of that one? Oh, come on. As const. Yep. Read only. Is this a read only thing? Oh my gosh, I hate this. I should figure out how to do that. How to take care of that. If this is read only, let it not be. Like, let this accept read onlys. I hate this. Oh, get action. That's what I called it. Yeah, of course. Okay. Yeah, it's simpler to do that. Oof, that really got ugly. Oh well. Yeah. Maybe I can do this. And maybe that'll make that happy. I hate it though. Yeah, I gotta figure out the read-only thing because as const would be the best. But yeah, anyway. Okay, update's done. Delete book. Any errors here? Nope, no errors here. We just need the ID. Okay, here we go. All right, delete. Copilot. You can do it. Yes. Does this work? What does that return? The ID? Yes. Nope. Returns an object. So that will complain. And I just have to map it. Yeah. Why an object? Nope. It doesn't know what it should be. So when you do pipe and map inside here, and I don't even think the map is there. So payload is the ID. I just need payload and deleted. I think that is what we need. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so that's done, and these can be deleted. Normally what I would do is I'd create a separate file for the adapter. Maybe I should do that to keep it clean. Yeah, I should probably do that. Oh, initial state. I think I like initial state here. Books.adapter. All right, now we just need all the imports. And then delete the gray one or organize our imports. Cool. Wait, why did it? Oh, I need to export, that's why. Okay. Got it. All right, there we go. So these are the state patterns. This is the actual state and the actual sources. So if you want to, you could create 2 stores with this all the same patterns and have 2 book lists at the same time. That would be wild. All right. So these are kind of basic things now. Select book. Let's see what we got. So in the books page, yeah, we're importing the store anyway. We're going to be using it. And it only does one thing, and it's very simple. So I'm going to go ahead with that. Yeah, both of these are not going to... wait. Clear selected book. Yeah, on page enter, this is all going to clear out. So automatically, because we're not... we're subscribing, and this state is not eternal. If you stop subscribing to it, it gets destroyed. So I can just get rid of these. And the actions. Did I already delete these? Clear selected book. Is it import wrong or something? What is... No. Yeah, I don't know why it's not clicking to the definition. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't even detect it, even though it's right here. Clear selected book. Oh, it's dollars. Okay, yeah. And we got select book. So let's get rid of both of those. All right. Our store's done. I think those actions... Wait, are we even using these actions? Create book. Oh, yeah, we import them directly, so these are like requests. Okay, all right. I like how things are going now. Okay. Now let's go to... What's up here? Oh. Books created. Yeah, we can get rid of all of these. These aren't even being used anymore. None of these. Right? Yeah. Yeah, these aren't being used, so. Book deleted, book updated, book created, books loaded failure, books loaded. Yeah, I got all of those. So, all right. Was that up here? So is that now? No, where's the book stuff? Yeah, here. Okay. All right, now the fun part. Selectors will be easy. Shared state books. Let's do bookstore. So tray. So first we need to no, not the adapter. There we go. Yeah, imports is where I miss the regular autocomplete the most, I think. Okay, that will be gone. Some else of this will be gone too. All right, store equals inject bookstore. Okay. Now take this. Total. I don't remember that. Current book. What's it actually? What? Active book. Yeah, that's not really consistent naming. And what was this? Earnings totals. Okay, fine. I'm okay with those. All right, and we're not doing this or that. On cancel, where are you doing this? Store dot remove selected book. I remember reset. I think Reset is what I'm going to use. So where is that used? Reset active book ID. Right? Yeah. Yep. So that is that. Remove selected book. Wait, what? Oh yeah, I remember they called. Just, they didn't have enough methods to call, so they just created extra ones. I don't know. All right. On select book, so that we're going to select a book here. You could also call this set selected book ID or set active book ID. You know, we could give these assignments. It takes in string or null apparently, so it's okay with null, with empty. Oh, yeah, okay, good. On delete book. Okay, this is where it gets interesting now. So we're gonna have delete book equals. Good, cool. That's convenient. Create book. Oh, I forgot. I was just gonna make one called save. Yeah, because this is one UI event. If it has an ID, that's the only difference. So this should not be concerned with the component. The component should just say this happened. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, create and update. This should all just be one thing. Okay, where are save. Right. And so this isn't this. It has to just be save. And it's just going to be book props. Yeah, I should just change this one. Save book, and it's up to us to decide if they are creating or updating. Yeah, this is better. Okay, now I'm like hopeless without autocomplete. At some point, this will. Oh, delete book, and yeah, so we got. We don't need the book part. Delete and save. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. Current book. And I just use their name. Set active book ID. Delete.next. Got total. Yeah. So that should be fine. That's fine. I'm going to go fix the store again. So now, yeah. We have one source and it splits into two. So up here, that's stupid. I forgot to save a lot of these things, change a lot, update a lot of these things. So save splits into 2 separate requests. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, of course. Okay, so this is just going to... These are going to both start with save. And the difference is this is going to filter and only proceed if hey, there we go. What is your problem? Required props. What was it before? So for create book, it was required props. It was a long time ago, like before anything happened. Just book ID. Well, that's select. So update. So create. They both had required props on them, but book ID was like this extra thing, and it was in the component that we were checking for that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Well, I did it because there may not be an ID, but in the component, it was just literally checking if there was an ID on something that shouldn't have an ID. Look at this. Oh, it's either one of those. So yeah, I should actually type the action like this. Yeah, that is what I should do. Of course. Yeah, exactly. And now, here we go. Yeah, okay, that's fair. And this will still be or. Yeah, so this is just required. How is it? I mean, I could do a type guard. That is what I'm going to do. All right. Let me do this properly. Actually, where do these come from? I should do the type guard up where these are. Yes. Is book model. Oh, yes. Exactly. Except I would like it to be starting from this. Oh, frick. Yeah, I forgot. Whoa. Now let's just do ID. Settle down. Are these required? Pick. Yeah. Yeah, they actually are. Okay. All right. This is a pretty safe type guard then. Good job, Copilot. You created something that was better than what I would have created. Okay. So now we just do is book model. Why? Oh, frick. Yeah. No. It's okay. It's just not great. And I know I could do... Where did that come from? I know I could do partition, but who cares? Actually, maybe let's try that. Hey, and we're not in a class, so okay, books, page actions, dot save book, dot pipe, partition. Let's see this. Ha ha. Why so many parentheses? Is that the issue here? One to two arguments? Oh, this isn't an operator. Right, of course. Okay. I remember that kind of catching me off guard last time too. I don't normally use this one. Okay, so I think, yep. Beautiful. And then we'll have create book, update book. If it's a book model, actually we are updating. So that was a close call. I had the wrong one. Okay. Will this do it? No. Ugh. It's a type guard. If you pass in the union and it's not one of them, it has to be the other one. How come it can't figure this out? It's something. It's one of them. Why? Sinners. Partition. You're disappointing. Book model. Oh. Can you do that? No. Gosh, that sucks. Look at this. It takes 5 lines of code and it's no improvement with the types. Could I write one that's better than this? There are 2 types. The input type is a union of 2 types. And the output are 2 streams, one of one type, one of the other type. And it depends on Boolean. It depends on how TypeScript. I'm going to pause while I look at this, but I want to look at it right now. So I think in order to do what I would want, I would need to have 2 type guards, one for each. So yeah, in the end, I'll be happy with 1 type guard I made, and I will just type it like a normal person would in this situation. Yeah. Another possibility is that I don't even know if it can do this. if RxJS could, if I provided one single function here that was a type guard. Actually, let me check that real quick then, because I did write that function right here. So if I have that function and I try it inside the filter operator, I doubt it can, but it could be smart. Yeah, it really could be. I think you could do this with filter, probably not with partition, because you need one. So yeah, this one is not book model, so I want to try it on this one. So, but instead, it's going to be this one. Oops, that's the definition. So if I put it here and just try, I believe Copilot wrote that for me. So, oops, action of that. And hopefully export that from, yes, StateAdapt. Yeah, okay. So that should work. Wait. I should do... Right? Or is payload first? Yeah, payload's first, so string by default, so that's good. All right, now if I put that here, is it smart? Does it know it's a type guard? Because if it's a type guard, it knew. Good. I don't think it would have known the other way. Yeah, look at this. Yep. If it's a type guard, it knows. Ah, that's very well done. Okay. Is it worth it? Because I could just type this now. But anyway, so I'm going to make this right. ID. Okay. Very cool. Okay, and then here, this could be either, and so I'm satisfied with that. So do I want to keep this here? Is it worth it? I'm going to export it from the other file, but sure, I'll keep it. It's nice to know it can work. But I'm just thinking about what matters, because it's a lot of code for just one little type check. It should be centralized, shouldn't it? Yeah. Okay. What were they doing? They were saying in if ID in. And I believe that so I'm holding on to that. Let's go back to the actions. Just see what happens. Oops. Okay. Oops, I could have just done that. Yeah, and in this case, it doesn't matter. We want, for its create, we want not book model. Yeah, because book model includes ID. So if it doesn't include ID, we want to run this. You know, this actually is slightly different behavior. So anyway, but I can do what they did before, maybe. ID in. Yeah, I literally just did what they did. Yeah, I remember the component. That's what they had before. I didn't know about this, that you can do this. But yeah, if ID in book. It's kind of weird I didn't know about that. It seems useful. What does it do? Yeah, it doesn't know. So if there is no ID, we're going to create one, a brand new one. So that logic is good. And then down here, we want the type guard. So do we want it? Because we could just do this. And then here, give it a type. Book model. What? Oh, required. Because this is, no, this is updated. What is happening here? It just is retroactively checking that. Okay, all right, I'll keep the type guard. It's kind of weird. And it adds a ton of lines of code. It's freaking annoying. What if I do this then? Yep. Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting. Splitting up two streams is really annoying with TypeScript and ArcsJS. I guess just have a type guard. Because I could just do as here. It's just not as nice. But, you know, what did they do in the component again? Oh, TypeScript new inline. What it was supposed to be. Okay. Huh. How would you do this with ArcsJS? I can't actually think of a way. So, what's your deal? Okay, there we go. Keep the type guard. Do that. I guess. ArcsJS for the win. What column is that? Seems pretty wide. 78. It's almost pushing it. Beyond the boundary. Okay. Well, am I done? I think I might be done now. Was that it? What else do we have? Yeah, I think it's all good. Yeah. Sort order. Ah. This is StateAdapt anyway. Not reducer. Store. Good enough. Well, I'm going to capitalize, sure. Exciting stuff here going on. Okay. But yeah, I think I'm done. And let's just organize these imports. And these ones. Let's check and make sure all the imports are organized. Actually, I'm going to check errors first. I have doubts because TypeScript is really hating everything. Doesn't think this is part of it. Yeah, look at this. It is exactly what it thought. Oh, I need to check the modules. Make sure. So all the components aren't happy. Yeah, the modules should be broken because effects and things were deleted. Yeah, I was kind of reckless with a lot of stuff. Just went through and deleted everything. Where are all the modules? Hang on. I'll just pause and go through these. I removed effects from one module, and now this actually books should be books all. So that was something that TypeScript told me in the template. So this is nice having TypeScript be useful. Now let's see. Hey, it cleared up. Wow, that's all it took. That's incredible. What are the problems in here? I don't see any problems. Okay, now we get to probably erase some effects from here too. Auth module. Oh. Yeah, I do provide it in root, so. And any red in here? Nope. Red in here? Nope. There will be red in here. Let's try now. Do it. No. Hey, that's not too many errors though. Not a known element. Okay, so app module is broken. Huh. Oh, we need the auth module. Hang on. What happened there? The auth module got wrecked by my stuff. My changes. Okay, now. Oh, yeah, auth module is needed. So now what do we got? Login page. Where is this defined? What module is this supposed to be part of? That cleared up. That cleared up. Auth module. I mean, this should work. Oh, I was scrolled. Okay. Hey, look. Cool. This is good. Oh, book list store. Ah, right. That is one that I didn't really. Yeah, book list store. Yeah. I don't know why, but hey, it's building. Okay. All right, now let's test it. Is this real? Did this happen? Do we see my actions in here? Yeah, success. Got books, got auth. Let's add a book. Book 3. This only made $10 and it's boring. I guess that explains. Hey, that works. I mean, I don't even know if this was working before, but I should be getting an action though. Oh, no, set sort order. That's that one. Is actually doing it. Oh, it never did anything in component store either, did it? It should have. I don't think, no, they didn't implement this. Right, it's just setting it, right? So, yeah, books list sort, yeah. So it's working this way, but this is never completed. That's why that file was all weird. Yeah, because they were going to set sort order, get the entities from the books store, and then they're going to actually apply the sort and create a new sorted list. Should we do this? I bet I could implement this easily. Because this would actually be interesting. Because if you look here, where's my bookstore? This entity stuff, all I would need to do is, oh, where's the adapter? All I would need to do is for the individual book, define a selector. Actually, I would just use join adapters and just make it have selectors automatically that return properties. So, whatever book has name and earnings. So name and earnings. And then when I create the entity adapter, there's a thing called sorters. And I can specify the name of the selector that would be available to sort by. And then with .all, so an alternative to all, it would be all, and then it'd be all by something. So where book list? Where's book list? Component. So down here, all. Wait, is it not even using it? Nah, it's gotta. Yeah, okay, but where is the actual list? Book of books. Oh, here they are. Oh, it's an input. Okay, I don't want this one. It's the books page component. Yep, you're right. So it would be books all by name and all by whatever. And so if I wanted to do like a sort order, well, the easy thing would be to conditionally return either of those observables based on that state. But I could also join the stores and create a new selector. Should I do that? Nah. I mean, it's easy. I could do that, easily do that. But it would just be more code, and yeah, I don't care. Yeah. But it would work. I'm testing this though, so I'll do it on my own time. How about that? I won't make you watch. All right. So we can change the sort order, and I don't really know what that's supposed to be, but anyway, things look pretty good. I'm going to get rid of book 2. Not found. Destroy book. So terrible mistake has happened. I refresh. It's there. Set active book ID. Did this work before? This is an issue with doing things the way I'm doing them. Well, hey, it set the ID correctly. Set active book ID. So, books page component. Current book. Where is this used? So that's subscribed to. And book detail. Why is CSS? That is terrible. Let's see if I can, just go in there. Input. Where's the input? Oh, here it is. Book. Oh yeah, reset thing. So this should actually work. So I'm going to put a console log there. Oops, I'm just going to keep that. But Detail component. No, nothing. That's weird because the store was set. It did set it. Hey, look at this. I can actually, so active book ID. Book entries. What changed here? Oh, entities, book entities. This added? I'm gonna look at state. Okay, we look at selectors. We can see what was actually being returned for the active book. Null. Interesting. So let's debug that. I'm going to pause and debug it. Okay, I think the issue is that let's see. Okay. I'm setting the book ID as, let's see, books page component. Select. Yeah. That's the whole book. TypeScript, why not? Why can you not help me here? Like, if I try to do that here, dot set active book ID, and I set it to an entire book as book model, it would complain. But apparently it's okay in the template. So yeah, that sucks. Okay, get out of here. Hey, it actually is setting it now. Where's the play button? Oh, way down there. Okay. Hey, there we go. Editing book. Now let's try to, let's say it gets 5,500. Did it update? It did. Okay, updating works. Let's create a new one. I think I already did. I think that was the test that I did there. Let's delete. That's the one that errored, I think. Yeah. So what did it actually? Object book ID? Is it setting book ID? Yeah, I bet. Yep. TypeScript could have helped, but it did not. It couldn't. Okay, now let's delete that one. That worked. Good. I don't want to edit. I want to create a new one. Let's do book 6. And it's going to be $666. And it's going to be a book. Hitting enter worked. Okay, it looks like it's adding them correctly too. I'll delete that one back. Yep, it's adding them. Okay, now let's do a tricky thing. So, yeah. Log out. That worked. Let's look what Redux is doing this whole time. We destroyed the book list. That's pretty great. We logged out. Wait a sec. Is this still dispatching an action here? That's kind of weird. What happened there? Drop down component. No, it's just, okay, it's just named the traditional way. Anyway, so now I can just put in a bunch of, that's password, I believe. Yeah, it just wants you to put the exact string in. Okay, so auth success. Let's not do raw. Loading state, I think, worked pretty well. Yeah, because we log in, getting status true. Oh, so this initially came in and it was getting status false and getting status started as true, which is great. And then user came back as null, so it was false. So auth theme seems to be working correctly. Login was entered. I did that. Auth succeeded. And so we got a user. And then it directed us to books, and books have this initial state. It loaded the books. I could have called this books loading or load, books load, books request. Doesn't matter. But anyway, everything works now. Okay, so it was just, wow. So that was it. Just those two little TypeScript things in the template. It's weird. Some of the components, it was giving me type errors, but in this one, it didn't. That's pretty strange. Okay, well. I really couldn't care less about maintaining what I just did. So let's see. I mean, I want to make sure I'm not missing any dead code anywhere. I'm going to go through and look at that real quick. Well, seems like everything is clean. I didn't look through every single file, but if there is something important, it was just, yeah, it would have caused an error, so it's going to be gone. All right, so convert to StateAdapt. Okay. Huh. Well, at least we have the commit here still, so I can look through and overview it. But anyway, so now I'm going to look at stats. Okay, I just grabbed the commits, the commit hashes, last two, and let's see what I changed. What am I expecting? I think I reduced a bit of code. I'm going to say 20% reduction. Whoa, wait, what? Okay, there were effects. Those were long. There were those boilerplate state files. Those were long. And I think that's the majority of it. And then the component methods. So, and the actions. Those were longer than how I did it. Okay. I'm okay with this. This seems, it almost seems like too much. So I'm going to look through the diff and exactly see how this happened. But let's look at the percentage real quick. It was 54%. And that's actually pretty similar to how it normally is. So yeah. Oh, here's actually the diff here. So the auth API actions, those are done. So yeah, that's the one thing. Instead of dispatching an action that's independently created, I dispatch an implicit action that's created as part of my reducer, which is the when the adapter gets instantiated. So that's how that happened. So some of those actions just became direct commands. I removed stuff from index as I deleted. So this is kind of a boilerplate heavy folder structure. So when you delete some code, it kind of gets amplified. If you add code, it'll also be amplified. I don't like this folder structure. It's the wrong separation of concerns. Very wrong. And there are circular dependencies, and why wouldn't there be? It's so hard to know what's happening. And you want to, when you create your NX dependency graph, you want it to make sense. You want it to show you what features depend on other features, not what technologies depend on other technologies. Vertical separation, if you keep things vertically siloed, so you have vertical features where you have state, API, all the stuff related to one interface, one model, including components. Then in every library is like that. Then you can just import them from each other. And you think, oh, maybe that'll create circular dependency, because what if state depends on state from another one? Or a component depends on state from that one, and that component depends on state from that one and that one. Well, if your component depends on state from another library, that feature is part of it. And so if there is a circular dependency, you create a third feature that combines the two features. So if you have a user model and let's say, settings, maybe. And it's a specific feature settings or something. And you have a page where it shows user stuff and setting stuff. That is a different feature. That is the user settings feature. And you should separate by type or interface, even if there isn't a component to go with it. It could have its own component at some point, but anyway, so small rant that I just had to do there. There's so little value in this type of boilerplate that you can see the fact that there are circular dependencies, multiple, in such a small app. This is not a large or complex app. Anyway, so, all right, login page action. Yeah, so actions, effects, module. Then the component, getting rid of that, all those methods that are it's just more boilerplate. It does nothing because you want to do one thing per event. Either you're going to dispatch an event, and in that case, the event has to be, it could be standalone, like an independent event that multiple states react to, like traditional flux, or you can have that action if only one store needs to react to it. No matter what you're doing with an event on the client or from the template, you're making one imperative call. Either you're imperatively updating an event stream or you're imperatively updating a store. They're both as, it's the same amount of imperative behavior, just one call somewhere. So whether you're defining that action as an independent thing that gets imperatively changed from something else, or a store that gets imperatively changed from something else, it doesn't matter. They're both equally reactive. So they have the same amount of reactivity, which is that's actually not reactive. But that's kind of the best we can do. Every template event has to make one change somewhere, unless we're going to do like cycle.js and have the event stream itself define itself by using a CSS selector and selecting from the DOM on its own independently. So in your template, there won't be a click event. It'll just show the button. It'll just have the display logic. And then up in your state management, where your streams are, you're selecting the events from the template that you're interested in. And that would be great. I think. I've never tried it, but I think I would like to try that. Anyway, so just substituting some simple things. Component, getting rid of more useless indirection for methods. You want your template event to be as close to the top of a stream as possible. So no like jumping around, just as simple as possible. You make one simple change somewhere, that's it. You don't leave room for side effects. Side effects can be done in the downstream phase with like tap operators or subscribing or changing state. It's not really a side effect. It kind of is. Dispatching an action to a global store. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so then effects. Man, these were huge effects. 86, that's the auth store. Auth reducer is 62. Auth state was 57. So even if you look here, this is combined 109. Is that 119? That's 119 lines of code. Yeah, that's not that much. Where did the big changes? Yeah, books page was a huge one. Yeah. Effects. Yeah, effects. State reducer. Yeah, look at this. The books. Whoa, no way. Oh, because I have an adapter too. So the adapter here is smaller than the reducer, and then the store is smaller than the state file. Yeah, it's not as big as a win as I would want it to be because the state file really is just nothing but boilerplate. So it would be nice if the bigger was, or if the difference was more drastic there. But anyway, so yeah, let's overview then. I'm going to use this nice chart to help overview. So let's talk about the books list real quickly. Books list had a component with an event handler that set something in the component store. This was actually another event handler. So you know what? This should have been another imperative. Well, I'm on the fence on whether component store methods should be considered imperative or not, because they're part of a class, so they're kind of modifying themselves, and yet they're methods with this dot setting. So they're kind of, I don't know, in between for me. But anyway, so that's how it was. Let's look at how the code changed. So books list. Yeah, let's look at the component. I just put in the store. I got rid of a line of code here by doing this, but extra line by not putting a gap between, but I don't care. It's just one line of code. And here I kept all the useless stuff. Hey, look, I even added an extra line here. So there, redemption immediately. So there, it's fair still. All right. So on the left, they had a bunch of extra stuff. It was like an incomplete feature. And on the right, it's 4 lines of code less. How did I do that? I used join adapters, which takes care of simple things. So instead of set sort order, because that's a property and it has its own adapter with a set function, it prepends this name and it's called set sort order. So I didn't even have to create a function for that. Same thing with this selector. It automatically creates a selector for each property here, and that became available in the component. So, and the component, here they're grabbing from the store. I grabbed it from the store. There's nothing wrong with talking to a store directly in a component. It's all one feature. It's all one feature. The component has to know about the store. So, yeah. Don't like try to separate technologies so much. Keep your feature together. And, you can use dependency injection if you need to change something, but okay, that's a different feature. All right, so that's simple. Now we have this over here. Basically, we have 2 components. They each have a method that dispatch an action, and then we have side effects. These are NgRx effects, all this entire row in the diagram. These are all effects. And they modify the server, and then they dispatch more actions, which then, familiar NgRx stuff. Let's go look at that. So what do we have? So book list is done. Let's not talk about books page yet. Where's books list? It's going to be shared state. So this is auth. Already looked at that. Here's books. Is there a book list? It's probably in here. No, it's not there. That's auth. Shared models, I don't care about that. I added a little thing for ArcGIS to be happier with types, but it doesn't actually change much. Okay. Wait, what am I looking for? Book list? I shouldn't be looking for book list. This is auth stuff. I'm getting tired. Really tired. Okay, so auth. So these actions I had deleted because they were defined from other streams. So you have a login action. That makes sense. That's where the event starts. You can chain off of that and convert the resulting observable into its own source and then plug that in. So so login page actions, I have just a single login action for that. I kept this even though I don't use it. They don't use theirs, so didn't see a point in deleting it. But yeah, so that login action starts there. Okay, here we go. The auth effects, we're going to, with the login, get the server, come back. This is getting if they already were authorized, like in local storage or something like that, session storage, I don't know. And then, yeah, since I got rid of effects, I was able to delete some. But where did I put the store? State. There's auth shared state. That's where I put all this stuff. So auth store, here we go. So the reducer takes care of these basic operations, setting if the user's there or true or null or whatever. So here again, I just actually did createAdapter instead of join adapters because there wasn't really a benefit in all these. This is like really simple state management, and they're all getting set every single time. So having a neat method that just changes one thing isn't actually that big of a win here. So I just did createAdapter, and yeah, you look here, it looks almost the same, just without, wait a sec, why did they, so they could have done this more concisely. I just did arrow functions with the parentheses. So my bad. I could have, even if you add like 7 lines of code on it, 8 lines of code onto this, it's not going to make much of a difference in the final tally, the final stats. Okay, so in this one, I chose to put the adapter in the same file as the store because whatever, it's easy to move out of the file. I did that during the process of creating the other one. I moved it out because the file was getting big. So you can do that. That's the behavior I like. I like code that's really simple to start with. And once it starts to get complex, it's really easy to extract a piece out of it and do something different. That's how all programming should be. So, okay, so I use this syntax because I wanted to return just the store. I don't want to have a property on the class that's a store, and adapt has to return an object. So I actually really like this a lot. This is so nice. I really don't like classes. The syntax is verbose. You do get any benefit from it? Like, what benefit do you get? If you call this function with an injector, with everything it needs to have injected, you can test it just fine. So I don't get the complaint against using inject, how testing, it makes testing harder. Why do you care if you can directly test a class? You're going to have to inject things anyway, and you have to do that through, well, I mean, you could do it independently, but it's not hard to do that through Angular. I tend not to write very many tests. That's maybe one problem, but but I have written Angular tests, and it isn't that hard. So yeah. So I prefer doing it like this. So this is the example of what I was talking about earlier, where you just make one change to an event stream somewhere, and then all of this is so we got login request these are some utilities I created with StateAdapt, and with login request it's got the success observable and the error observable. So you start with one action, it goes down into streams. Depending on what behavior, it performs whatever side effects it needs to and then, but it's declarative because that one result is an observable, and you can plug that into your store for it to change state appropriately. So this is where all the effects happen. It's just the store is downstream from all of your sources. So yeah, it's more declarative this way. You look at your state, you can click to definition, and exactly see, well, not in a diff, but you can exactly see where this comes from. Login request. Oh, it came from this. It came from this. That was doing that. This got data from here. And so it's all just one really simple graph of data flowing. It's super nice. Everything just is self-describing. So anyway, this is one of the weird ones because logout success, it's doing a pure side effect here with tap. No data is coming back. And so I just type it as a source of any. I may not have needed to do this because I actually had to type all of these sources as any at the end in order to include this one because I had a bug in StateAdapt that I fixed while working on this. And so that needed to be fixed. And until it's fixed, I had to type that as any. But if you're working on this, you can comment this out and still use type checking. And then, yeah, it sucks. But that's related to the last change I did. So it's not like a core issue. It kind of is because it's here in the core API. But things like that are pretty much settled now. They should be completely settled. Okay. And I delete a lot of these boilerplate files. It's just like, this is like so boring. You got a feature, and then you go from here to its child, and then from here to its child, and then again and again and again. You're just describing a graph, just a relationship of a parent with a bunch of children. And it's not even necessary. It's so predictable and boring that in StateAdapt, you don't even worry about that. I mean, I have join adapters for even deeper relationships, but the top level thing, the fact that you're passing in this auth state right here, that's enough for it to create its own selector and then chain the adapter selectors off of that. So that's how this works with the global store, just so you know. All right, so that's auth. I think that's good enough for auth. And then books is the final one. It's just more of the same, except this time I got to use EntityAdapter. And it's such a cool thing. One thing that I did differently is instead of extending entity state and putting extra properties onto it, wherever I did that, right here, or that's where they did that. Instead of that, I just had the entity state control or be just part of one single property, and then this is part of a bigger object. So if you really are annoyed at that, let's see what it actually looks like and see if it's a big deal. So here we go. We got auth, books. Now, are you annoyed that there isn't an array of IDs right here and an entities property? I don't mind at all. It's a little annoying that you got books and books, but this part isn't confusing. Active book ID is loading. You see this is all relevant to books, and then books, oh, it looks like it's the actual books. You got IDs and entities. So this is already annoying if you aren't used to NgRx entity, but it's not annoying if you are, and just having the books property keeps it on its own. I think this is how I might do this in general. But when it comes to creating entity or adapter creators that can be extended, if you did this every time, you get really nested and each layer would only have an extra property. But I thought this was convenient because then, well, first of all, it isolates the weirdness to this property. But also when I make my, I'm going to go to the adapter. I have group state changes here. State changes that happen multiple at a time with children. And I couldn't do this if I had state all merged together. I would have to manually call each update function, which wouldn't be the end of the world. But this is, if you're creating an adapter creator that's meant to be extended itself, I wouldn't do it like this. I would do it the full verbose way. But if you're just using someone else's adapter creator, these things are like really generic and reusable. So it's doubtful regular people are going to be doing this for their apps. So it makes sense to use this syntax instead. It's just simpler. And so you keep the entity adapter managing its own property, and then you can update each individual property and select the adapter. But if this is all smashed down to one state, you'd have is loading this one, and then IDs and entities. Those would need separate adapters to manage them. And to do them really efficiently, you want lower level control than that. These do really well with updating only what they need to, so it doesn't spread state multiple times with these. These are smart with how they update things. But anyway, yeah. So that's my opinion so far. I don't think it's a syntactic dead end because most people aren't going to be creating these adapter creators. They're just going to be creating adapters and that's it. These will be more like core library type things. So I think this is a good pattern. I like it. Okay, and it's the same idea with like different, state flow. It's the same idea. Get rid of these extra imperative side effect indirections and just go straight to the top of the stream as fast as possible and have everything be downstream from that. That's the rule of reactivity. Make everything downstream that can be downstream. And so, yeah. That is how it looks now. Much simpler, more unidirectional, or reactive at least. Yeah, I'm working out the relationship between those two terms right now, unidirectional and reactive. We'll see. I'm writing an article, so we'll see how that goes. I may publish that before I actually publish this. I'm going to schedule this to publish later, and we'll see if I already have released that. It's possible. But anyway, so yeah, just more of the same. Make a change at the top, have everything be minimal downstream. And if at any time you need to add a side effect, just add a tap operator somewhere, or you can also add another sink because, the UI is a sink, of course. That's where data goes. But it's a side effect. So, I wish we did side effects more declaratively like we do with the DOM. It is a side effect. Why don't we do all side effects declaratively? That'd be nice. So those are two opportunities. Another opportunity is I have another idea I might do. It makes it easier to do side effects, but it's not going to be a breaking change, and it's not really important. Yeah, so yeah, this is easy. It works, and it's much cleaner. So the final result is, okay, I can enter in the lines of code now. I had how much? What was the difference? So I'm going to do 612. Was that what that one was? Yeah, and then 279. 279. Should I do like a percentage difference too? Nah. Yeah, actually maybe. Do like a subtract sign with a percent. Moving from left to right. So the percent is of this. So this is minus 55% if I remember right. 54%. I was close, but oh well. Okay. And bundle, unfortunately, I can't figure out because the original app had so many circular dependencies that it just was not possible to figure out. Okay, so final conclusion. I'm going to say that this was longer than I thought it would be, and I am exhausted. And I don't understand why OBS's sound and visual are not in sync right now, but that's how tired I am. I'm saying things like that are irrelevant to you unless you're paying super close attention, I guess. It's time for me to end this. What did I learn? I learned that StateAdapt, that is good that I did this because I found a bug with the no-op thing. It's not that serious, but it is a bug. Yes, it actually is serious. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with how the adapter dependencies are now, like what is defined in the adapter versus in an actual instantiated store. And when I changed that and reorganized that, that's what introduced this bug. So now that I fixed this, I'm gonna add a test to it for it. But I mean, I already fixed the other bugs. I already tested the other bugs. There could be something I don't anticipate, but I'm not going to make changes again like this because things are efficient now. Things make sense. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to finally have StateAdapt in a stable place. And I'm happy to see there isn't a single project I've worked on yet where StateAdapt wasn't less code. And that's kind of crazy. If you watch the video, you see where I went the extra mile sometimes or accidentally reduced lines of code. But in any of the really, really close projects, usually maybe like Rx Angular or Elf. I haven't done very many with Elf, but that was the closest before this. I'm very, very, very picky. But when I'm like 50, when I'm getting rid of half of the code, 6 lines don't matter. I think maybe 8 lines of code, maybe 20 or 50 could have been me being overzealous. You know, at the absolute most, probably actually more like only 30, something like that. But I'm pretty happy with it. And these StateAdapter patterns, the nice thing is, because they compose, it's flexible too. So you can arrange your state tree, and the annoying thing is you would have to change all the selectors because the selector names are automatically generated. But you actually could overcome that by going into the selector it's being nested into, and create a selector at that level for the other feature. That will only work for the state selector. So one thing you could do is define a state selector at the top level, like inside your individual one, so that's something I'm going to change with StateAdapt. I'm going to let you define your own state selector. So if you change it to be more nested, and everything is depending on it to be not nested, I can have you define a state selector that selects the individual piece that you're looking for, and then everything would use that state selector as if it's the entire state. So then that would sort of abstract away the state your adapter is managing away from everything else. So that's one other thing I'm going to look into. But yeah, if you try to do that for now, your state selector would be overridden because I generate the state selectors automatically. And it's kind of weird to create a selector called state. So anyway, so yeah, and I have in the documentation that a selector called state will be created. So hopefully people read it and don't get confused if they, for some reason, decide to create a state selector and aren't sure why it's being overridden. So anyway, so that's the end of this. Thanks for watching. And yeah, really looking forward to getting this done and getting 1.0 out. All right. See ya.